So we've shown you how to make gluten-free, dairy-free pancakes, and now we're on to French toast. Now we've tried a lot of different recipes and methods for cooking this. We've cooked it on a griddle, we've baked it. Ultimately, the version that we're showing you today has been approved by both gluten lovers and gluten haters. So what's our secret? Cube it and bake it in a cast iron skillet. What you get is a nice crispy edge that holds even after you refrigerate it. No sogginess here. So let's talk equipment and ingredients first. You'll need what you see here: a cutting board, a knife, a medium or a large size mixing bowl, measuring cups and spoons, and a nutmeg grater. Not pictured here, you'll also need a large spoon and a fork for mixing. Finally, you'll need a 12-inch cast iron skillet, a jelly roll pan, and a wire rack that fits into the pan like you see here. For ingredients, you'll need 2 loaves of gluten-free, dairy-free bread. And we suggest using a loaf of cinnamon raisin and a loaf of either white or wheat bread. As for brands, we like Canyon Bakehouse. Trader Joe's gluten-free bread offers the best value, followed by Kroger and Walmart's versions of gluten-free bread, but Canyon Bakehouse has the best flavor and texture. You'll also need soy milk or another milk alternative, a dozen eggs, maple syrup, non-dairy butter, and a whole piece of nutmeg. All right, here we go. So first, preheat your oven to 300 degrees. Now, while you're waiting for it to reach temperature, you're going to prepare the bread. So BG is taking 4 slices at a time and cutting them into 3/4 inch cubes. Once you cut up the whole loaf, arrange them onto a wire rack that's nested inside a jelly roll pan like you see here. The rack allows you to get air beneath the bread so it dries out faster, so that's why we're doing that. Then repeat the same process for the other loaf. We like to use 1 loaf of cinnamon raisin and 1 loaf of white or wheat bread. So Canyon Bakehouse's white loaf is actually 24 ounces, so we had some bread cubes left over, which is fine. We were able to use them as croutons for soup. A great pro tip. Once your oven has reached 300 degrees, put your pans into the oven and bake the bread for 25 minutes. Your total bake time is actually going to be 45 minutes, but you're going to rotate the pans at the halfway point, so set a timer now so you remember to do that later. While your bread is baking, it's time to prepare the liquid mixture. First, add a dozen eggs into a medium to large size mixing bowl. Then take a whole piece of nutmeg and grate either half of it to a whole piece over the top, depending on how much you like. And be careful when you're doing it because you really don't want to get your fingers caught up in the grater. After that, you're going to add 4 tablespoons of maple syrup over the top. BG is eyeballing it like always. Then you're going to mix that together. Now, don't add the milk yet because it's harder to mix the eggs completely if you've already got the milk in the bowl. Once that's smooth, then go ahead and add 3 cups of soy milk or whatever else you want to use. And once your timer goes off at the 25-minute mark, rotate your pans and continue baking for another 20 minutes. At that point, check your bread and look for browning on the edges like you see here. The bread should be dried out and browning on the edges, but definitely not black. Take out your dried bread cubes and immediately turn your oven to 375 degrees. Then put your cast iron skillet into the oven on the top rack. You need to warm up your skillet in the oven for at least 30 minutes before you add the bread mixture. Once you've done that, carefully add your bread mixture to the liquid mixture. Use your spoon to pull the liquid up and over the cubes evenly, like BG's showing you here. Once you have all the cubes evenly coated, you need to give the mixture time to rest so it can soak up the liquid. After 15 minutes, mix the bread and liquid again. Then let it rest for another 15 minutes. When you've got just a few minutes left before the second rest time is complete, add about 4 to 5 tablespoons of non-dairy butter to your skillet. And be careful when you're doing this, obviously, it's really hot. Put the pan back in and then close the oven. Mix your bread mixture one more time, and by this point, your bread should have mostly soaked up the liquid and it should be sopping. Then get ready to add your bread to the skillet. Carefully transfer the bread mixture into the skillet, spreading it equally across all sides. So this is not a race, so definitely take your time doing this. Then close the oven and allow the French toast to bake for 45 minutes or until the top is crispy. It's also a good idea to check the internal temperature of the French toast. It should be at least 180 degrees. And that's it. You can serve it immediately. You can add syrup or a non-dairy whipped cream. This also reheats very well for several days. Just pull off a chunk, cut it up for your kids, and send it to school or daycare. Thanks for watching today. We're winding down our season of high production, but we've still got plans for upcoming videos, including tips for baking bacon and knife sharpening with whetstones. Subscribe to us and sign up for our new newsletter at our website. Enjoy fall, y'all, and thanks for joining us on our final freezer.
Oh, sweet Lord. Fucking fuck. Living the dream.
You're so close. Come on.
Get this engine going here.
So while your bed is breaking, I did it again.